Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Release Brooks. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Politics Aside. Today is our final episode in our International Women's Month series, and our guest for today is Jonelle Irish.
Hi, Release.
Hi. Okay, so let's jump in. I mean, there are so many things I can talk to you about, but I want to remain focused. And so let's get into it. So, Jonelle, first of all, you left from St. Kitts and Nevis to Asia, and now you're in Europe. You can start by telling us a bit about yourself and just a bit about your journey.
Okay, so you know that I was born and raised in the beautiful Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and then I left home to pursue my bachelor's, and I did that in Taiwan. But before leaving, I was just always, I guess, like an academic at heart, just involved in different things in school, whether it was like setting up student council or debating, public speaking. I even did a bit of pageantry, and we met when at the Clarence Fitzroy.
Yeah.
The Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, debating, and formed a beautiful friendship. And then it was just time for me to go off. There was something inside of me that was telling me, separate yourself for a bit. So like majority of my friends, they would have been going to like UWI Mona. And I knew that, okay, if I'm going to do school, if I'm going to do it in the Caribbean, I would have wanted to go to Trinidad. I just had this, I don't know, this love connection for Trinidad. Or if not, just leave the Caribbean altogether. And it had nothing to do with like a bad perception or thought about education within the Caribbean, but it was just this feeling within myself, just separate yourself for a bit. So I applied for a scholarship to go to Taiwan, and I went, and there I would have spent the next 4.5 years. I did my bachelor's, and I also started teaching, had such a love for that. And then it was time for me to do my master's. And a lot of the feedback that I was getting at the time was, Jonelle, don't do your master's in Taiwan. Like, spread your wings again. Like, you did it once, do it again. And I also just had this feeling like, okay, it's time to do something else. So then I started looking for programs, looking for scholarships, and then I found one that took me to the Netherlands, and that's where I would have done my master's. And I did my internship at one of the pension funds there, and then I was able to make my way into full-time employment. And that's like a brief synopsis of my journey around the world.
Yeah, okay, 2 things. I think maybe it was the soca that was drawing you to Trinidad, let's be real.
Yes, the soca, like.
And then you dropped a nugget and it said spread your wings again. So I was just writing that down. So I mean, to move from St. Kitts and Nevis to Taiwan, how was that for you in terms of adjusting? I mean, the culture, I mean, integrating, connecting with others there. What did you learn through all of that?
At first it was hard to like integrate. This was like the first time being in an international scene. So outside, like I had never traveled internationally before. I think the furthest I would have ever gone from home before Taiwan would have been Barbados. And that's when I went to get like my visa so that I could travel. Um, so just a whole different culture, a whole different language. It did pose some problems or some challenges, let me say, but I I had this mindset that I've always respected culture. You know, people have a right to their culture and these things that make them them. And it may be different from my culture, it may be different from my upbringing, but this is who they are. And the same way that I would just love a space to express who I am, um, others should have that. I then started to look at Taiwan and the people there through that lens. So, oh, okay, they do this. This feels a bit strange for me, but this is what they do, and this is something that is important to them. So yeah, let's see. And then just having like this open mind, and really just starting to understand why they would do certain things or why certain things were important. It just gave me like just an appreciation. And after being there for so long, like I consider myself like Taiwanese in a sense. Or like if I talk about Taiwan, I would still always say we, as if I'm somehow like still there or I'm like still with them. But yeah, I think it was really just looking at it like, you know what, I come from a different cultural background, but that's okay. Like, that's okay. And I can't be like, well, I deserve to express my culture. I can be like, I deserve to be accepted for who I am and my background, but not give other people the space to do the same.
Yeah.
Even if it
Yeah.
means that I don't necessarily agree with everything or I don't always understand everything, but everyone has that right, and that's part of who they are, and that's what part of just what makes us unique. And I think that really helped in just making the experience a lot more fun. And that's when I really
Mhm.
get settled and Taiwan started to feel like home.
That's amazing. Did it like cause you to dig deep inside and try to find, for want of better words, your authentic expression? Because I remember when I moved to Italy and I don't want to describe, but different people and this black girl, and I felt like I really had to just find my authenticity and really stand in it and be grounded. You know, do you think you had that similar experience? Would you say so?
Yeah, because for the first time, like I actually became aware of the fact that I am black, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's like you know it logically. It's like logic, like I know it. I know it. I can see it. I am black. There's an African heritage that is running through me. Like I know this logically, but then I go abroad and I'm just like, oh, I'm black. Okay. And then
Mm-hmm.
um and then yeah, so then being one of the very few black females in spaces, this sort of became a theme in my life even up until now.
Mm-hmm.
Just my journey where I'm just usually one of the very few black females in a room, and then on top of that, like I'm one of the very few like Caribbean people in a room. And then from this small island that no one hears about because yes, the Caribbean only comprises of Jamaica, Barbados, like we know that according to the international scene. So then have to kind of explain like, okay, look, no, I'm not from there. But yeah, it really did. I really did become a lot more conscious. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I think in Taiwan, it, it became freeing because I don't, it's like there were no expectations, or they didn't necessarily have a measuring stick of like what a black girl should be, or how
Mm-hmm.
a black girl should present herself, or there were certain stereotypes that they had, but I would just block those out. But like all of a sudden, like obsession over my appearance, it wasn't as deep, because they didn't know. Like if I showed up to school with like these big twists in my hair after I washed it, they would be like, "Oh, Jonelle, so pretty, so beautiful," and I'm just like, "Wait, what?" But like because there was they really didn't have like that standard or that measuring stick, I then realized I could just exist at ease, you know
Mm-hmm.
um and that was freeing. um it was yeah, not
I
feeling like there
love
were
that.
certain yeah not feeling like there were
Right.
certain um like conditions that I had to meet. Like I know, like if
Yeah,
I'm home, like I'm not going outside with these big twists
exactly.
in my
Like,
hair,
really?
exactly, like yeah, but like up there, like they didn't know, and they didn't know how to measure it, and then of course they also did not want to be offensive or rude.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Yes.
doing that, it just allowed me this freedom to just be whoever, present myself however I wanted. So I think I started to like actually figure out like how do I want to present in this world,
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started
Wow.
to discover like comfort above everything else. Like I remember like being back home, and I mean, this as well. Like I was always the girl, like I needed my hair to be well done, and I would want to be doing my makeup. I was always in heels and like,
Mm-hmm.
but then I came to Taiwan and I'm just like, well, you can't keep this up, because like you have like these 2-3 hour commutes, you're teaching all day, you're doing school, you're doing back and forth. General, you need to be comfortable. You can be comfortable and you can still feel confident about how you look. It may not be the same Jonelle that was home, and I had to grieve her. I also had to grieve the Jonelle I left at home. um but then I realized like, okay, Jonelle, you really just want to be like in jeans, a cool t-shirt, and yeah, like I also started to fall in love with sneakers, and
Sneakers.
I
Yeah.
hated sneakers back home. I was never a sneaker girl, but I mean, you should see my collection now. But like,
Girl.
but then I realized, like, oh, like this is actually how I want to be, like where I just feel comfortable, at ease. It doesn't feel forced. And I started experimenting with that a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that mouthful, I jotted down so many things because that particular piece about, not realizing, well, people in Taiwan not realizing how a black girl should show up. I just think like that is for every black girl to hear, and we can dig further into that maybe another time. But now I'm going to go into your field of study for a bit. You're such an interesting case study. Like I tracked down so I'm not very sure what title they give people who do the work you do in your field. Is it economist or what is it really?
Okay, so I'm not so like an economist. This is someone that
Mhm,
literally like focuses on studying the economy, the models and stuff like that. But then at my master level, what I did was econometrics, which was
mhm.
really like just a lot of math. So it's like I think I'm just an econometrician. Like that's it. And yes, it is different from an economist. Like
Okay, okay, okay.
So what I did at my master level, I really focused a lot on the math behind
Mhm,
models that are used in finance. So where I specialized would have been mathematical finance. So like there are models for pricing securities, for pricing like equity, for pricing bonds. Like I delved into like the math theory
Mm-hmm.
behind that, also like being able to like develop these models myself, you know. um that's kind of what I did. Like my master's, it was just math. So in my bachelor's, I did finance, financial management. So
Mm-hmm.
my bachelor's was more like, oh, this is the formula that you can use if you want to price, and if you want to price a bond, or if you want to price a
Okay.
stock, or if you want to do a valuation. This is the formula. Then what I did at my master level in my econometrics degree was, let's break down, let's actually understand the math behind
Mm-hmm.
this formula. So now I was actually building the formula, if that made sense. My master's
Yeah.
was more about building the formulas that I was using at the bachelor level.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you plan to do with this? Like here in the Caribbean, we have seen a deterioration in the mathematics comprehension in our schools. You know, you see the CXC results. How do you think you can help us to, I don't know, build stronger math syllabi, or I don't know, but just how do you think you can help us, but what you can do?
It's not even about what I can do, it's the
Mm-hmm.
experience that I had, and it's particularly in Taiwan. W- Um, and then also coming to the Netherlands. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think we discussed like my not my bachelor's, my master's. It was quite challenging for me because there was not a there was a lapse or a gap. Let me say a gap in my math background compared to what my master degree was actually demanding. So it really took a lot for me to get to that completion point. But I remember in Taiwan, like the students that I taught, they're like in grade 7, grade 8, and they're already telling me things about like integrals and derivatives. And I'm like, you guys just do this in school? I mean, back home, if you don't choose to study pure math in
Mm-hmm.
at CFBC, you
CFPC, yeah.
probably never get exposed to any of this. But what you see in other cultures is that they bring these things to these children at such an early stage, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also just like not seeing math as this difficult thing, but it's just it can be fun, or it's just like a very useful skill to have, you know. And I think that's would be my approach when it comes to education, where to
Mm-hmm.
actually just bring a lot of the things that we leave to like college, university,
Mm-hmm.
that are somehow optional, bring them earlier into our
Mm-hmm.
curriculum.
Yeah.
Because when I talk to other um, like Caribbean students, and especially
Mm-hmm.
those that did not follow the career path of like where they had to do math. So those that
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to do like the sciences or engineering or computer science, of course, their background had math in it. But outside of those students who didn't, they're just like, they always struggle with the math. We will show up and we will show off everywhere else, but then when it came to math, we're just there like,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on? And then like in Taiwan, I remember these people, they don't use calculators. I don't know if you've ever had to calculate the standard deviation, but I had an exam where I needed to calculate the standard deviation manually. Like, do you understand? Like, and this is just normal for them. Like, this is just normal. So, like, these fancy calculators that we have, like in grade 9 and stuff, like, they look at them and they're just like, we don't even know what to do with these because
Yeah.
they don't use them.
Yeah.
So definitely just reducing our dependence on these calculators, but just
Mm-hmm.
introducing topics at an earlier time in our syllabus. Like, I think that would just be a game changer
Okay.
in the Caribbean, and not leaving it as something optional.
Yeah.
Like math in this day and age should not be optional. And I know we like to make jokes like, I've never had to find X in my career. Like, you know what? You might be surprised. And math,
I mean, yeah.
you might be surprised. And I think once you have a base in math, it then just allows you to transition to so many different fields that you're not even aware about. Because you find it in the data analyst courses, you find it in the economics courses. Like a next thing, so economic students at CFBC, you're telling me, you're not doing like the advanced math. Problems. You are going to face problems when you get to university, because like a lot of these topics, we don't understand how much math is inside.
Yeah. No, that's really true. And as you say, we see these memes about I've never had to find the square root of this or y equal mc whatever. The truth is, I think you actually had to, but you just was never able to pick it up,
Yes,
because
yeah,
yeah,
or it was
so much of
presented to you
life.
in a different way, because it teaches you a certain
Exactly.
level of reasoning, a certain level
Ex-
of deduction, and that is the skill that we want.
mm,
So it's like
there
you
we
can pick
go.
up some of these skills from like
Hmm.
your history and your sociology classes, where there's a
Hmm.
sort of level when it comes to qualitative analysis, but then you can still have like a whole other set of reasoning and deduction skills just from math.
That is it. And you hit the nail on the head. The reasoning and deduction, the skill that comes out of it. I mean, it's a life skill. And once you
Yeah,
understand the principle, you can apply it to any situation. So, but we're going to do something about this. I hope we can find the time, because I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of math. I did pure math one.
you did more
I
than
said,
me.
I said I was not doing pure math too. Like I don't need it. Give me chemistry and my biology and let me go. But as you said, it was so challenging at CFBC because the gap between CFBC and
And high
high
school, it
school.
is ridiculous. It just shouldn't exist. And then
Yeah.
so not even only in Taiwan, but even in the Netherlands, when I do hear like my other classmates talking about, yeah, this was
Mhm.
stuff that we did in high school, I'm just like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
was not even a thought in our minds at high school.
Yeah. We're going to do something about this. We'll discuss off air. But I know this interview was gonna be one of those that go over time, but we're coming down to the end. Jonelle, I feel like, as I said earlier, I think you're an interesting case study. And just to put it into perspective, how tall are you?
I am 4'9". I am
Yeah.
4 feet
Okay.
nine
Okay, everybody.
inches.
So had to ask because I need to put what I'm about to say into perspective. Jonelle is 4'9", black, Caribbean, not just Caribbean, but small island or micro island developing state, Caribbean. And she's studying, oh, well, she's an econometrician, that's the word. So,
Yes.
which is a very niche field. And so when you put all of that into perspective, we really get a genius, to be quite honest. And so, Jonelle, how do you really take all that you are and just literally shine? Like literally shine in the world in a niche field in Europe, but from a micro Caribbean island, a totally black girl who loves wearing her natural hair, her afro. I mean, you'll see her with an afro, a tee, probably an African print skirt and sneakers.
Yes.
Like, so the theme for this year's International Women's Month or Day was for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. Considering all that you have been characterized to be, what does that theme mean to you really, especially the empowerment part?
The empowerment, I see it as like so important where you feel empowered to do the things that you never thought of doing. Because honestly, when I think about my life, sometimes I'm literally just in awe. Like, how did I get
Mhm.
here? Like, what? But I guess it was just always having that support of people around me that even when I didn't believe in myself, um, I had people there to push me and be like, you can do this. And also being able to access or know how to access opportunities. So, like I
Mm,
would have told you, like I went to Taiwan on a scholarship, I went to the Netherlands on a scholarship. So, something that a lot of people don't know is just like my financial situation just would not have allowed me
mhm,
to to pursue education otherwise, right? But I did have like the know-how in terms of how can I go about searching
mhm,
for things that can like empower me or just
mhm.
give me that ability to pursue what I want.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really do think that empowerment is really about just helping women and girls to have that know-how and that ability
Mhm,
to access the things so that they can pursue their dreams. And something that bothers me just a bit with this year's theme for International's Women Day month is that
mhm,
equality, because I think that we have evolved from equality to the need for equity. So it's not
mhm,
just about like let's just give everybody the same thing, but let's kind of understand that when we think about women and girls in this region, what is it that they need in order to get here? It's different from what women and girls may need from another region, because we all know, okay, here is where we want everybody to be, or let's say here is the baseline that we want everybody to get at. But what is needed for different women and girls is different. And I think that's what we need to be focusing on, and not just saying, well, okay, we gave everybody scholarships, so that should be easy, or we gave everybody something, so that should be easy. Like, no.
mhm.
I think we really need to consider, what do we really need to get to this baseline even playing field? So that would be my 2 cents on that. But for empowerment, definitely just the ability and the know-how to access the opportunities and the resources um, that we are going to need to just navigate this world and succeed in it.
Very, very well said. And interestingly, you were the only one who pointed out I don't want to say a flaw, but a possible room for improvement in that theme. And I just shook my head because I'm thinking, the people who would need to be in positions to create policies, aka government, are the exact people who refuse. refuse. And I don't know. It's a dilemma, but Jonelle, thank you so much for this interview. It was really, really impactful. And I'm really looking forward to what we will do together in the future in terms of math, in terms of different policies, and probably just being a think tank or an NGO, something that doesn't have to be where people have to elect us. So
Yes, we'll create that table for ourselves if we need to. And I just want to
Absolutely.
say, like, thank you for this opportunity as well. Yeah, it's very, I feel honored, and I also feel humbled that, you asked me to be part of this, because you are such a powerhouse, and I look up to you, I respect you, I admire you so much. So this has just been a pleasure.
I'm blushing. Thank you. And we'll definitely have another chat.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Ciao.
Ciao, bye.
Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Release Brooks.